Hello and welcome back to this special Story X Story interview series that we are doing in collaboration with Comic Conline. My name is Nigel and I am the co-founder of the manga brand mayamada. And today, or right now, I am joined by comic artist and illustrator Valentina Sannais. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Cool.
That was perfect.
Fantastic. So, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Cool. So, just want to let people know who are new to this podcast, new to mayamada, that you can listen to and subscribe to our podcast on sort of all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast from. You can also send us your feedback, any questions, feedback@mayamada.com is our email address, or you can just contact us on social media, at mayamada on Twitter, at mayamadatees on Instagram, and you can also reach out to the Comic Conline at Comic Conline on Twitter. So yeah, we're just going to get straight into this again and start to pepper our guest with questions as we've been doing this whole interview series.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so Valentina, so I've got here, you published your first work, your first comic in 2016, and you've produced artwork for different book jackets, short film storyboards, and you are currently the artist of the webcomic STARFALL and another comic, my Italian is not good enough to say. But maybe you can...
Correction. Probably you taken this from the website that I still need to update.
Yeah.
But I'm no longer working for STARFALL, although I'll be releasing some new illustration and cover for the complete stories that I've done.
Okay.
But I am still working for the Italian editor, Astromica. You can find all the links on my page. The title is Il Portale dell'Infinito, which translates to the infinite portal.
Okay.
It's a horror story. It's kind of like X-Files. So it's really interesting.
All right. We're going to touch on that a bit. So it's the one series that you're working on, and then all the other illustration work that you do as well.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So correction for myself. So to get started, I want to know a bit more about how you would describe your art style. So as both an illustrator and a comic creator, like how would you describe it?
I really don't know, but I've been called a cartoonist many times. So I think my style developed from something that went from anime style to more realistic. And now it's just kind of like a mix of the two. But I'm always trying to change and improve and try new things. So, especially if you look into the comic STARFALL, you can see how my style has changed like year by year because I have no consistency. It's just like, I see something, I like it, I want to try it, and I try to put it in my work. So it's always evolving. I cannot really describe it anything else.
You've got an evolving, diverse style.
Yeah.
That is somewhat influenced by anime.
Definitely.
Okay. Do you have any favorite anime out of interest?
I do. Have you ever heard of Death Note?
Yes. Yeah. That's excellent.
That's definitely in my top. And that's pretty much one of the styles that I like because you can tell that it tends to go to the realistic style, but it's still stylized in the manga, horror, Japanese typical.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely.
But I do like a cartoonish thing. Have you ever read the manga Soul Eater?
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
That is like kind of like a graffiti style.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. So it really depends on if it catches my eyes. But that there are like many different styles that I like and that I kind of try to pick the inspiration from.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good thing because I know sometimes, you know, as an artist, you're working with different people or different stories, and you kind of need those different styles. So I think to be able to jump to different styles is kind of I guess, a credit to your work.
Being versatile is absolutely important in being an artist, I guess, especially if you're working in comics.
Okay, so then your training, I say training or educational, because I'm always interested to know, for people who are in comics right now, like, did you study something related to what you do now, or did you come from a different angle? How has your like education contribute to what you do now?
So I did study art in high school, but it was like commercial kind of graphic design, which is though very important in comics. I discovered this in my last year of studies, because you can learn how to put things on the page and make sense of it.
Yeah.
At that time, I absolutely hated what I was doing. But I guess it comes with, you know, school and the environment and everything. So that was my basic kind of intro into the world of art. Although I've always been drawing, so I knew that, like, in the future I would have done something with my skills.
Okay.
After high school, I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do.
Wow,
I kind of wanted. I think it's a typical thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do fashion design. So I got more into like minimal art, different styles, completely away from thinking of doing comics. And all this was happening while I was moving from Italy. I moved into the UK, and then in London, I met someone that saw my work and was like, "Oh, you should totally do comics." And it was something that I've always thought about, because like when I was a kid, I would do my own comics and it would be in manga style. But because of like during high school, unfortunately in Italy, we have not the greatest concept of manga style. It's getting better, but still, like we are more very proud of our style, of the Italian realistic way of doing things. So in high school, my teachers will be like, "You have to forget about anime and manga because you're Italian. You are supposed to draw this way."
Oh, as
which I realized, yes,
Oh, wow, okay.
It kind of really just blew my mind. I was like, okay, fine. So I had to go into more realistic, and it wasn't really me, you know, because I was just doing it for assignments. So when I moved in London, and I still had like a very kind of minimal, realistic influence for what I thought I wanted to do. And then here again, that I could do comics, I just kind of like went, oh my gosh, this is actually what I wanted to do when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I got introduced to some people, and I went to my first comic convention, and I met some editors. Like
Which
my
convention?
first interview was ICE. Do you know it? Yes.
Yep.
I actually work for ICE whenever we can resume work, I guess. It was funny because, like, I've been sent there from a friend that knew the organizer, Shane, and he told me just go with your stuff and tell them your name, and then they're gonna let you in. Which didn't happen. Obviously, the world was like, "Who are you?" So there was a lot of like panic, and I thought that like I spent a lot on the train, and that I had to find a way to go back.
Yeah.
But eventually, like the stuff is really nice and amazing, and they let me into the green room, and they let me talk with some of the guests in there, and I was just like, oh my gosh! So in Italy, I've never been into anything like that. So I was just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Oh my god! It was just like a dream. So after that, I kept in touch with the staff, and then I became part eventually of it. So I got to know a lot of people, a lot of pros in the comic industries, and that made me like really get into it. And then eventually, like, I started doing my own stuff, collaborating with other creators. And so in 2016, we released the first comic, which was Knockout. Unfortunately, after like 2 years, we had to drop the project. But I'm still very proud of it. It was just like something that I never imagined that I could do.
Yeah.
And then have
your teachers.
Yeah. It was like, I was really proud because I was just like, they don't know what I'm doing now.
Have you sent your work back to your teachers just to say, you're...
So they added me on Facebook because once I did because I actually liked some of them.
Okay,
some of them, obviously, I tried to forget about. Yeah. But I think that they are silently supporting what I'm doing.
Yeah, so
but yeah,
no longer actively telling you can't make comics anymore.
No. I think that like it's just something that teachers do because they want to see their own dreams come true. And so like because they failed, they think that they can teach whatever they can to their students, and then eventually see it realized, and then be like, "Oh, that was my student."
Yeah. Then they come back and want to.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get
but
that.
Yeah, growing up into a completely different environment in London, I've seen and learned many new things, and I can see things differently now.
Okay, so first of all, I mean, yeah, it's just amazing that teachers say that, and it's not even it's shocking to hear, but it's not surprising because I've heard it many times, and I do work with young people, and I've seen the impact, like sort of an adult in authority, like a teacher or sort of family member or whoever, what impact that can have. So because you're essentially saying that you wanted to do something and you were told based on someone else's view of the world that you can't do it, the very thing that you're doing now. So it's
absolutely wrong. It's so wrong, especially in art, because I think that with younger people, you should inspire them to use whatever they feel or whatever they want to do, and help them to develop that instead of being like, oh no, you should do this because you are from here. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I mean, since making your comics and sort of the journey you've been on, like, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've picked up and like advice that you would give to an aspiring artist coming up?
It's very easy to be excited about things, but I have learned that, like, if you really want to make it, and I have not made it, like, I am still thinking of what I want to do, but really take your time into doing things. Don't rush it, even if you think that, like, if an opportunity comes, really think about it, and if possible, like, keep communication open with whomever you're collaborating with, because it might really affect your health, your life. Because I've been feeling really exhausted trying to keep up with whatever they thought was the standard of working in comic pages. And I would do like, I wouldn't sleep for days just to finish them, because I had set a deadline in my head.
Right.
But that's not healthy. So, what I would recommend is follow your dreams, absolutely, but take it easy. There's no one rushing you. You have all the time that you want, and just take your time to realize and really look into things, learn, and when you're sure of what you're doing and what you want to do, just try. Try, it's good, but do not overdo it.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think, like, to your point, like going back to your teachers, the idea that, you know, someone is telling you not to go after your dreams, obviously that's not a thing that should be said. But on the flip side, like you're saying, just because you want to do something doesn't mean it's automatically going to come to you and come to you easy. And in some ways, and I've certainly found this, that going after the thing you want is actually maybe more work, a lot more work. So you kind of have to, like, you know, still have those dreams, but understand the reality of what it means to go after them, and that journey that you want to take. So yeah, no, I definitely get that. So, okay, so in terms of like your work, obviously, I now know that you're no longer working on STARFALL. Can you tell us more about the project that you are working on, what that's about, and how you came a part of it?
So, I'm working comic-wise for this new Italian publisher that was put up last year, I think. Although it was in the process for longer than that. So they became public last year through one of the biggest conventions that we have in Italy, which is the Comic Conline, which is held in Rome.
Okay.
And it involves like a lot of artists. So like if you go into the website, which I believe is translated in English as well.
Okay.
You can find, yes, you can, absolutely. Unfortunately, my comic isn't translated yet because I promised I would translate it, but time, eventually it will come. But there's like hundreds of different comics, and different styles. It's really interesting, and it's giving the opportunity to many artists to try the experience of being published online mainly, although some of the titles might be able to be printed later on.
Okay.
So I came into this project 2 years ago. I was actually working at a convention. I think it was the London Film and Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
And I met another Italian artist who's called Elena Vitaliano, which I would suggest to look out for, especially like manga, because she's been the only European woman to win an award for a Japanese manga contest.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't remember what it's called, but I was really impressed. So as soon as I saw her, I was just like, oh my God, you make us so proud. So we were chatting a little bit, and I told her I'm trying to, make it into comics as well. And she gave me the contact of one of his friends, who is the editor in this new publisher. And we chatted a little bit, and he told me about this project and everything. And after like a year of talking, because part of the job is also being very tolerant towards people.
Yeah.
We came to. Oh, that's what I mean when I say like really take your time to do things, because many artists would just jump on the opportunity, but they're not always that good. So after a year, we came to an agreement, and I am currently doing 7 chapters for them of this story that I mentioned before. It's a horror thriller. It's very reminiscent of X-Files. So there's aliens, there's the main characters that eventually come together, and there's the sideways of everything that comes with it. It's a mystery that is set in Texas in the 90s, which was really fun to research, because obviously you have to have all the backgrounds and all kind of like clothing that should make sense for the time. So the style that I'm using for this, it's pretty realistic. But what I like the most is that I can freely draw all the violence and gore that I can, which is one of the things that I enjoy the most. You could see also that like my style is changing as well again. So because I like to experiment. I don't have I like doing these projects if I have time, because then I can like explore new things, not only like visually but also technically. Because I like to try new brushes on my computer, and I use a digital tablet. A graphic tablet. So whenever I'm working on comics, I usually just draw digitally because it's faster for me. And it's also like it gives me a lot more freedom to experiment on new things. So at the moment, I have 5 chapters done, and after the last 2 that I already have the script for, I think I'm going to be done with them, because I really need a break. Apart from that, I'm also working on some illustration for a book. 2 of them are already out. The publisher is called Lettere Elettriche. So it's another Italian publisher. And it all started as a favor for a friend. Because she was like, "Oh, your art is amazing. We should do something together." And after like 3 years or 4, eventually she kept in touch with me, and she was like, "So the books are now being published. So if you wanna come in, jump in, and do your illustration for it, I would be really grateful." So I'm working on that. Not only as a favor, it's an actual job, guys. Not two things properly.
You know what's interesting is you gave good advice earlier, but another bit of advice which you kind of inadvertently given is the power of networking.
Yes,
as
absolutely.
you've been telling me these stories, that it tends to start with you like taking a job somewhere, meeting someone, and I think that's another really important thing to keep in mind. Like if you want to be an artist and work for certain types of people, go to where they are and I mean, obviously we're in this weird time and space where we can't physically meet, so you can do that online. But
yeah,
I'm always kind of big on like physical meetings and meeting people in person. It makes it easier for you to stick in someone's head if you've met them physically. In my opinion, I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I absolutely agree. I think I made a lot of new friends and new acquaintances just by working at conventions. And obviously, like, because I'm an artist, I would go to other artists and I'd be like, yo, I draw as well. Do you want to just exchange art?
Yeah.
And then, like, from one commission to another, I always try to do my best to get like a good feedback. And then from that, they might recommend you to someone else. I had most of my clients coming from other people that I had commissions from. So it's really important in networking, especially if you are an artist.
Yeah, no, it's another bit of good advice. So then, speaking of, not being able to go out as we used to, the Comic Conline has come about because the convention in Netherlands so you can't be run, and you're taking part in that. So can you let us know what you have planned for Comic Conline?
So I don't really have a proper schedule yet because I've been busy. But I'm definitely going to be doing a live stream. I am thinking of doing some anatomy example. I've been told that I'm really good at drawing anatomy, so I'll be just like, if you have suggestions, I'll be doing some poses, some stuff. Or just like, draw something that hopefully won't take too long. I'll try to keep it short because there's a lot of other creators and everyone should take the time to check everyone out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have. And then there's my page, I think, with all the details. You can just look at my gallery. I'll be available all day for the both days. So if anyone wants to reach out for any questions or, anything. Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to have just a chat because it's not a proper, one-on-one. But yeah, let's try to make it as normal as possible.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure this new environment out. Like I mentioned before, that we've got our own online event the week after, and it's been an experience so far. Just like a completely different experience than doing physical events, and I think everyone's just trying to make something work with what we've got. So definitely. Just letting people know they can check you out at the convention. My last question is, apart from Death Note, do you have any other anime recommendations for people?
I might have many.
Okay, give me another. Give me a couple.
Inuyasha, because there's the revival very soon, and it's one of the greatest anime and manga ever created. It was actually one of my first mangas that I've ever bought. And I think it's like very modern still, into some topics. And then what else? If you're an artist, check out Bakuman.
Oh, which is both of them.
Bakuman is from the same creators of Death Note, but it actually is the story of a kid that wants to become a mangaka. So it gives you insight of how it works. Yeah, and it's so super interesting.
Cool. All right. Thanks for reminding me about that one. And actually, very last thing is outside of Comic Conline, where can people find you on social media?
I am most active on Instagram. You can find me at Green-Eyed Black Wolf. Sometimes on Twitter, but I preferably wouldn't go there with a mess. And I also have a Facebook page that is called Howling Art. But definitely try and find me on Instagram. I'm basically 24 hours there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have spent a bit too much time on Twitter during this lockdown, and
I do spend too much time on Twitter, but not as an artist. So if you want to go there and find my K-pop stuff, that's the place for you.
Okay, cool. They can do that. All right. Thank you for joining me and letting us know about your journey and the work you do.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. And just to remind listeners that we do a podcast, Story X Story, where we talk with other creators and people from the games industry, cosplayers, as well as have deep dives into stories across pop culture. So you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and I think wherever you get podcasts, I think we're like everywhere. And we are also storytellers, so we make our own manga that you can check out at mayamada.com/manga, as well as having our own page as part of Comic Conline. And what's the other thing? Oh, yeah, we do a video game event. So as I mentioned, we have our own online video game event that we're actually collaborating with Comic Conline on the cosplay aspect of it. And obviously I'm doing this video series for their convention. So it's kind of a crossover thing we've got going on. But yeah, in general, you can check us out online, send us your feedback at mayamada.com, and listen to our podcast at mayamada.com/storyxstory. So until next time, take care and stay safe, everyone.